So over the past few years, I have become very passionate about the topic of childbirth because growing up, I never wanted kids, but I also think I never wanted them because I was scared to death of childbirth because there's not really any positive information out there in the world about childbirth. Most of it's negative, and also the hospital makes it a very negative experience, and it doesn't have to be. And I really want to get the information that I have learned about childbirth that is positive out there for people to actually know. And I don't claim to be a medical professional or licensed in anything. I highly encourage you to do your own research on all these topics that I'm about to talk about, but I just really want to bring the information to you so you can figure it out for yourself. My first topic is induction. Induction is rarely needed unless there is a complication. It's not very common for there to be a complication that is going to require you to be induced. Most of the time, the doctors want to do it for the convenience of their own selves. I once had a friend tell me that their doctor scheduled them for an induction and they asked him why, and he literally told them because he had a golf game the next day and he didn't want to miss it. This leads me to my next point. You can actually induce labor on your own by pumping. Why this works is because when you pump, it mimics breastfeeding, which when you breastfeed, your body releases oxytocin, which is also known as the love hormone. And if you didn't know, Pitocin is a man-made artificial form of oxytocin. So when they give you Pitocin, it fabricates labor, your body going into labor, which makes labor much more intense and much more painful, making it a lot harder to go all natural. If you can avoid being induced and getting Pitocin if at all possible, highly recommend. I have had labors with Pitocin being induced and having an epidural, and I have had a labor all natural. And let me tell you, the all natural one, even though it was hard, was so much more rewarding, and I cried after she came out because it was such a beautiful, I would say, spiritual experience that I had. So if at all possible, avoid being induced. Also, after you have the baby, when you breastfeed, your body continues to release the oxytocin, and during about the first week after you have them, that will actually cause you to continue to have little mini contractions, but will help your uterus to go back down to its original size, the size that it should be going back down to, making you heal and get better faster, making it easier to take care of your baby. By the way, I experienced that also. I recovered so fast after my natural birth. I was in shock, actually. Funny side note story to that, we made a video of Esther, my firstborn, meeting Dassy, my secondborn, and it wound up going viral. And there were people commenting on it saying, oh, they adopted, and I was so confused. I was like, why are people saying I adopted? I was like, I never said that in the video. I was like, I don't understand. And I finally come to realize it was because we made this video 12 hours after I pushed her out of me, and I did not look like, and I was not acting like I just had a baby, because my body snapped back really fast because I had her all natural and my body knew what it was doing. Now you have to take care of this new human life that God's given you, and why would he not make it to where you would snap back to yourself, be comfortable so you can easily take care of this new life? Having you in the hospital for most of your labor. If you are trying to go all natural, I highly suggest not being in the hospital until you are about to give birth, because the longer you are in the hospital, the longer they have to convince you to get an epidural, and the more likely you are to get one. One of the best things for you during labor is being able to get up and walk around and get comfortable, which you can't do if you've had an epidural because you can't move. Also, the epidural actually slows down labor. They won't tell you that in the hospital. Rushing labor and delivery. Rushing delivery is more likely than to cause tearing and the likelihood of them getting stuck because your body just isn't ready to deliver yet. Your body knows when it's ready, and you let it progress in its own time, most likely everything will be okay. But when you start rushing everything, it's not ready down there, it's not stretched out enough, and it's more likely for the baby to get stuck and to cause tearing. The opioids and other medications and epidurals actually can cause a lot of complications in the mother later on, which they don't like to talk about that either, like consistent migraines. That's one of them, just for instance. I would highly encourage you to do your research and learn more of those things, but that is definitely one of them, and they don't want to tell you that. The medications also get into the baby then, and so after they're born, they actually tend to be more lethargic, making it harder to breastfeed because they're too tired to want to learn how to find the breast and therefore breastfeed and get their first feeding. Keeping you on your back during labor is also very bad for you because there's a bone. So your hips, when you're in labor, spread apart, and there's a bone in the back of your butt called the sacrum that actually opens up, and the hips open up to let the baby out. When you're on your butt, it's a lot harder for your sacrum to come down and open up. Actually, it's almost impossible. Labor is pretty much guaranteed to not go as well as it should because your body is not able to open up and to get the baby out in the way that it should. Giving birth on your back is also the worst position possible because when you're on your back, your vagina is actually pointing up, meaning you have to push the baby up and out. Versus if you're like on hands and knees, your vagina pointing down, which means you can just push the baby down, and it's a lot easier to get them out. Also, being on your back is one of the hardest positions to bear down and push from. If you're like on your hands and knees, by the way, I have given birth both ways. Being on hands and knees is a lot easier to bear down and push, which if you think about it logically, it makes sense. After the baby comes out, they tend to want to immediately cut the cord. No. What you need to do is something they call delayed cord clamping, which is where you wait until all of the blood from your placenta and the umbilical cord gets pumped into your baby. Having all that extra blood, there's a lot of really good stuff in that blood that your baby could use, and giving it everything it could possibly get is best. So waiting till the cord turns white, because that means all the blood is out of it, to cut it is best. And by the way, they don't want to do that in the hospital because that means an extra 5 to 10 minutes, then they have to wait for that to happen. That actually happened to me, where they called and asked me what things I wanted to happen during my birth, and I told them that I wanted to wait to cut the cord until after all the blood had emptied out of it. And the lady on the phone literally very condescendingly said to me, "Oh, you want to do delayed cord clamping?" And I was like, "Yes, I do. Thank you very much." All this stuff makes me very angry, but I'm trying to stay positive about it and just get the news out there of the things that I have learned. That way other people don't have to get upset about this stuff. You just know. After you do get the cord cut, they typically want to take the baby away from you almost immediately. Sometimes they will let you hold it and do skin to skin for a little bit, but what I mean by taking it away immediately is you should have your baby on you for like 3 hours after the baby's born. Nobody should be taking your baby away from you. They want to take it, they want to do all the tests, procedures, its first vaccination or whatever it is, eye drops, the vitamin K shot, all that stuff, that can wait. You need your baby on you, because when you put it on you, it's that bonding experience that that baby needs, and also being on you for that long is when you start to teach it how to breastfeed. With the vitamin K shot, that is not needed. What the vitamin K shot is for is to help with blood clotting, but 8 days after birth, the baby is able to clot blood on its own successfully. The only reason you would ever need to give it the vitamin K shot is if you have a boy and you plan on getting him circumcised, which is not something I recommend either. But if you do plan on getting him circumcised, you would want to get the vitamin K shot because otherwise he's probably going to bleed out. But if you don't need the vitamin K shot. Eye drops. Eye drops used to be silver nitrate until it got banned in 1999. After that got banned, they changed the eye drops to being antibiotics, which is basically just an overuse of antibiotics, which probably they started doing that as a replacement because they were losing money from not doing the silver nitrate. And so they started doing that in order to just keep being able to make money. They don't need that. It's completely unnecessary. Immediately wiping all the, I have no idea how to say this, vernix caseosa, the white stuff that's on them after they're born. They want to immediately wipe that off. No. That stuff is like gold for their skin. It's very nourishing and moisturizing for their skin. Really, you should rub it in and not give them a bath for a couple days to let it fully soak in, to give them the best full benefits from the vernix caseosa. If I'm saying that wrong, somebody correct me. Trying to force them to breastfeed. This is also something that's done because they just want to hurry up and get you in and out of the hospital and in and out into the next room. And really, you should be letting your baby on your chest as soon as it's born, and it should lay there for at least 3 hours, well, until it gets hungry, and it will start to try to root around and nurse on its own. And you should let it do so very gently, not by forcing it on you. It will figure it out. Gentle coaxing and letting the baby learn how to figure it out will be far less painful for you, and it is a much more effective way for the baby to learn how to breastfeed than trying to take their head and shove it on there. God made them to naturally figure that out. Pushing on your stomach to get all the blood and the placenta out. All of the blood and the placenta will come out on its own. It can take up to about an hour sometimes. They don't want to wait that long in the hospital. So guess what? They're coming in there and shoving their hands down on you and pushing stuff out. When you lay the baby on you, on your stomach, the gentle kicking of the baby on your stomach will actually help loosen the placenta and cause it to come out. It will come out in its own time. You should not be pulling on it. You should not be pushing on your stomach. You should just let it come out naturally, and it will eventually. And it shouldn't take more than an hour. But they just don't want to wait that long in the hospital for something else to happen. They want to move on. Screw them. Coming in every hour to check on you to test for something, usually completely unnecessary, after you've just spent however long, could have been 6 hours, could have been 48 hours in labor, and you just want to rest and your baby needs to rest, because by the way, I mean, labor's kind of stressful on them too. That's a lot they're going through. No, you should be allowed to just rest. After the baby tries to breastfeed for the first time and gets that first little feeding in, they don't need much. You should be able to both rest and fall asleep. Get the quality rest that you need after you have both just done one of the most miraculous but crazy, amazing, awesome things of giving birth. You should be allowed to rest, not be awoken every hour. And now you're stressed and tired and telling you to not sleep with your baby. Did you know America is one of the only countries that discourages co-sleeping? Almost every country in the world, every other country in the world, encourages mothers to sleep with their babies. Why? Because it's bonding. It helps you and the baby sleep. I had a nurse in the hospital call me after I had her and ask me where she was sleeping, and I was honest. I said with me, and she was like, well, you know they're not supposed to be sleeping with you. They should be sleeping by themselves. And I'm like, yeah, well, cool, thanks for the information. And she was like, well, you know there's like X amount of babies that die and a certain percentage of babies that die. It was very, by the way, it's a very low percentage that die from being rolled over on. I said, yeah, and of that percentage, how many of those are related to drugs and alcohol? She goes, a pretty big percentage. I said, yeah, I don't do either of those. So thanks for the information, but I'm going to be sleeping with my baby. So get this, think about this though too. After you have a baby, when you try to sleep at night, you swaddle it, lay it on its back in the bassinet by itself the way they tell you to, and it doesn't want to sleep. But during the day, when you're holding it all day, it sleeps like a rock. Why do you think that is? Because that's how they want to sleep, and that's how they sleep best. So by telling you to place them in a bassinet where they're all alone by themselves, a place they don't know, away from you where they can't smell you, the one thing they know, they're not going to sleep. So you're basically teaching them to reverse sleep cycle. Also, did you know your body releases melatonin in your breast milk at night to help the baby sleep better? And during the day, it does not, to help it stay more awake? If you didn't, now you know. God had a perfect design when He created us to be fruitful and multiply. That is all things that I have learned from either talking to people who have been through this before, doulas, midwives, or just a lot of it's things that I have learned myself from just gathering random information from people over the past couple years of having 2 kids. My first daughter was born in the hospital with an epidural, with Pitocin. I was induced, and it was horrible. My second daughter, I labored almost entirely at home, went to the hospital, had her in the hospital, and it was one of the most miraculous experiences I've ever had. And yes, I am planning on having a home birth this time if all goes according to my plan. To be able to just have a baby in the peace of my own home without all this other extra information of people, and to be able to relax and enjoy the birth, enjoy the baby afterwards without all this extra in my head, in my ears. So I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you learned something from it. I hope this helps you on your journey of having children and having a natural labor. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I have become very passionate about this topic, and I would love to answer any questions that anyone has for me. Also, I'd like to throw in here at the end, I do not vaccinate my children. I'm very passionate about that also. If you're on the fence about that and wondering about that, I highly recommend you listen to Candace Owens' podcast, Shot in the Dark, where she individually breaks down each vaccine and talks about what's in it, what it does, the purposes and everything, and why she doesn't use them. She doesn't vaccinate her children either. So it's a very good listen if you are trying to figure out what if you want to vaccinate or not, or if you just want more info, if you're already stuck on not vaccinating and you just want more information as to why. That's sort of where I was at. I just wasn't comfortable with vaccinating, and then I've learned a lot from listening to her. So also, if you would like more tips on breastfeeding, I highly recommend you check out Dr. Robin Thompson, the Thompson method. Just Google that, you'll find it. There's really awesome videos. She breaks down everything, what the hospital's doing wrong. She even goes into birth a little bit in the beginning, and then she gives all the videos about how to help you with breastfeeding. So I highly recommend watching that also. So again, I hope you guys found this information very helpful. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I would love to help you on your journey to having a natural birth. I'll see you guys in the next video. Happy growing a baby and having a baby. Yeah.